Right, 3. And we are live. We are live with the Remodeler show. It is the singular show this week. Back in the saddle, it's Friday, July 31st, 2020. And today I have a wonderful guest, Michael Anchel with OA Design Build. Did I nail that?
You did. OA, it's easy.
OA. Yeah, the Anchel part, though, can...
Odegawa, Anchel, Design Build Architecture.
Got it. And you may know Michael from one of the most popular episodes of Remodelers on the Rise, my podcast, which was a couple months ago. And we talked about transparency in how we go about the design and the build and the project development. And Michael's got a lot of good and unique and different thoughts than I think what a lot of our industry hears. And just I had lots of, what's fun about that, Michael, is not only did I get a lot of feedback on that, but I've seen several of my clients do stuff with it.
That's awesome.
That's exciting, right?
Yeah.
And so I think you basically invited yourself onto the show. You weren't invited.
I did. I snuck into the studio and
you were just like, you know what, Kyle? Hey, I want to come on your show and talk about this, but I loved it. I think Jeremy Mayer posted something on the Remodelers community board related to this. I don't know, maybe that was where it came up. And he said, hey, let's do a show where it's Michael and Kyle, and we talk about the design build model and what are some best practices related to that? What are some things we need to be thinking about related to that? And that's just where we're going to kick off. So we'll, I've already seen one comment on here. Please bring your questions. Rhonda, good morning. Welcome back. You hear a couple little babies in the background, and Michael's like, do you want me to move? And I said, no, that's fine. That's just real life right there.
It's COVID times, man.
It's what?
It's the COVID times.
Yeah, everything that's kind of weird, you just go hashtag COVID.
That's right.
That's what we've been doing. So I'm just going to open it up to you and say, Michael, you are talking to remodelers, some that have the design build model, some that kind of mess around with it a little bit, some that are thinking about it. What comes to your mind as some of these best practices, things to be thinking about?
Oh, way to go broad, Kyle. Yes. All right.
I can go specific, but.
Yeah, and you've got the list of things that kind of came up in that conversation, but well, hopefully lots of people will ask questions, right? Because that's what's really exciting about this. Fun. But the design build is no longer a new model. It's been around for a while. And I think that there's not necessarily consensus on exactly what it means. And I think that there is also usage of the term design build that isn't necessarily consistent with what design build is supposed to be. Right. And so you've got design build where it's a contractor who has a relationship with a designer or an architect. Right. Yep. And their design build. You've got contractors who've got a designer in house and they do some like free design to get the build project, but they're really focused on the build side of it. Yep. And then you have what I think of as design build, which is you have a design side of your company that engages in design and or architecture work, and you have a build side of your company that implements design. And it allows you to offer one or the other or both services, but they're not intrinsically connected. It's like, hey, if you design with us, you have to build with us, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that one of the unique advantages that design build offers is, when I go out on a lead, and I try not to do that, but when I do go out on a lead and someone's like, hey, I got this big project, and we're like, sweet, it's a big one. It's like an 800 million and a half. Like it's super. We really want the project. Well, asking them to commit on day one for the entirety of that project, even if it's an $80,000 project, which is a lot of money for most of us, right? Hey, I want you to make an $80,000 commitment on day one is a big ask. And if your sales game is not like peak, then, design build gives you the opportunity to say, hey, there's no obligation to build with us. Let's go through design. Let's explore the ideas. It's going to cost you, depending on the project, anywhere between $6,000 and $40,000 to go through the design process. At the end, you'll have drawings for construction, and you can shop the drawings. We don't care. If we've got a really great relationship and the trust is really high, then you're probably going to build with us, but you don't have to. Mm-hmm. And and you own the drawings. You know, that's the best part of it, is at any point in the creative process, if you want to stop, life takes a change. Let's say a pandemic hits, right? You can just
hypothetically
speaking, what if? Oh, you can press pause, and all of the drawings, all the work product is yours, and you can pick it up later.
So why do you like that way? Why do you need to kind of put that out there of saying, and look, if you don't go with us, and we're selling this service of design and project development, whether you go with us or not. I would say most of my clients sell it a little bit more as, this is something that we do as part of our process, and they don't really make a big deal about the fact that, look, we're going to design this, and if you want to shop it around, be my guest. Talk to me about why you lean the way that you lean.
That's a really great point. And I think
I'm glad, because the first question I asked, you said, well, that's a little broad, Kyle. Now the second question I ask, you're like, okay, you're getting better, Kyle. You're hosting.
Yeah.
Okay. I've been on vacation this week. I'm just getting back in the rhythm of things, but carry on. Yes. Why do you do it that way?
So maybe the response might be, what are the pain points that oftentimes are expressed? And one of those pain points that I know I've seen people talking about it in the community here is, client took my drawings and took them to somebody else, and I'm really mad about it.
Yep.
But we don't have that pain point. We've completely eliminated that one. We will never complain about they took our drawings and went somewhere else, because we got paid to draw. We charge $170 an hour for our design work. But even if we charged $80 an hour for design work, it more than covers our cost of labor. We're making good money on it. There's no real risk. You think about, in a construction project, you get an $80,000 construction project, right? Mm-hmm. And how much of that actually comes back to us as a company? How much of that goes to our overhead, and how much of that is actually profit? And how much of that goes to subcontractors and materials? It sounds like a lot of money, but what we get is a very small bit. But if I have a $20,000, $30,000 design contract, all of that $20,000 or $30,000 comes to us for our wages, our overhead, and our risk is very minimal. So
the strategy that you've taken is let's really sell that service, and conceivably it is kind of a standalone service, and the build side of it is kind of a bonus on top. That's the mentality, and that's how you approach it, and that's how you sell it.
Maybe not bonus on top, but just two distinct.
Gotcha.
Tracks. Yeah, I did the other way for a long time. I did, I credited it back at one point. I did design as a percentage of build, and there's all kinds of little things that you run into that become conflicts of interest. Like if I'm designing a project and it grows in cost because they picked really expensive countertops, should I get a bigger design commission fee thing as a result? I don't think so. Right, and the clients don't think so. So let's eliminate that, and that's why we do it hourly. But like that whole transparency thing, right, which kind of bubbled up and emerged from playing the shell game of hide my margin, right? This was the same thing. It was like, well, let's stop arguing about it and just say, look, hey, we'll draw, and whenever you want to stop, you can stop, and you can do what you want.
So go back, people. If you're listening, if you're intrigued by what he just said, go to remodelersontherise.com, search Michael Anchel shirts transparency. You'll find it pop right up. Cool. So we got some people here. We'd love your questions. Design, build, charging for your project development, estimating. Toss us some questions. Bailey said that's a great point. What's a great point, Bailey? Yes, it's a standalone income. Good. Usually she's not here, but since she's here, I can say stuff like that. All right. So as we're waiting, maybe for a few.
For us, it's about $200,000 to $250,000 in revenue from design alone, out of $2.5 million.
Yeah, it's big money, especially when you consider how much of that $2.5 million is just coming in and out, right? Of just subcontractors. Yeah. Okay. Got it.
How do I cover my overhead and my people to make sure that we're viable?
Yeah. Let me ask you a little bit more specific question. I'm going to go through a few of these. Never give away design or detailed proposals unless you are a single trade business, roofing, siding, windows, gutters. Never give away design or detailed proposals. Tell the people why, encourage them why, teach them why, get them fired up for it, build their confidence. What do you got to tack onto that statement?
Don't be a dumbass.
It's one way. That cuts right through it.
It's kind of crude, though. It's kind of crude.
Yeah.
It's like, I
was expecting something a little bit more you write eloquently. You do a lot of things. I was expecting maybe a little, but you got the point.
A little less Trumpian and a little more Anchel-esque.
Yes, please.
So I think a couple thoughts. The thing that you have to offer, your thing of value, your value proposition is the stuff that lives inside here, right? And if you just hand that away, right, you give that away, then you've lost your opportunity to be paid for for your skill, right? When I call my lawyer and I have questions about how to structure a contract, right, I'm specifically tapping into their brain power, right? And they're charging me $350 an hour for access to their brains. And so this commodity that we have is the ability to look at space, see it differently. As remodelers, we see all of the challenges and constraints and all the bits that come together and the solutions that can emerge from that. And when you say to a client, hey, I'm a valued commodity for you, and I'm going to help you problem solve, and I'm going to be on your team. I'm going to sit on your side with you, and we're going to work together to brainstorm and solve this. And you're going to pay me for my time to do this because I'm presenting something of value. When you don't, you cheapen it. You say, well, what I have isn't really worth anything. That's why I give it away, because it's just not valuable. Right. And detailing out a project takes hours. I mean, it takes 10, 15 hours easily to estimate a project, and writing a good specification. I mean, contracts take days to produce because you're being so thorough and detailed.
No. Good detailed contracts take that amount of time.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, if someone says, what does a bathroom cost? What does it cost to remodel a bathroom? $30,000 to $50,000 there. Right. Mm-hmm. Can you do it for less than 30 on your own? Sure. With me, no. Kitchens start at 60 and they go to $150 unless you're being really crazy.
So what you're getting at there of never give away design or detailed proposals is, people listening, there's tremendous value. You're talking about the intellectual value. There's just tremendous value in walking people through the design and project development. And we can't be just thinking, well, I'm going to do that. It might be a little bit of a lost leader for me. I'm going to invest some time. I might get burned sometimes. I might not. You're grabbing your head going, don't do that. There's only so much time in the day. We cannot chase after and do it properly, get into the design and the details, get rid of allowances, get all of the planning and selections done up front if you're not charging for it. You've got to put a gate up that says, I'm happy to give you a ballpark estimate. I'm happy to give you a free estimate. Based on my years of experience, based on what we're talking about here, this project's going to range from $30,000 to $50,000. Now, we can get into design and details and project development. We're going to work to get all of the selections, all of the decisions made before we ever step on your job site. And why? Why are we going to do that, Michael? Why are we going to do that? Because that's going to lead to a project that
will go smoothly. Yes. We'll be successful.
Yes.
Right?
Stay on budget, stay on schedule. This is how we found is the best way to deliver you a great experience. And you've got to sell it. And so much of it is confident, building up your confidence. Good.
Yeah. Right. So key in that, I think, actually is the getting paid to estimate part. And this is where it gets controversial. If you're getting paid to estimate, then sharing the process of that estimate with the client arguably is something that
hang on 1 second.
Uh-oh.
Oh, hang on, it's good. Hang on. I got an audio because you said it was getting controversial.
Shock jock, dropping truth.
Shock jock time. Carry on.
Shock jock moment. This is when that whole transparency thing pops up. Because if you're helping to estimate the job and you're getting paid to estimate, then in theory, the product, that work product, is something that they've paid for. And you're sharing with them how that estimate is built and how it's constructed and what it consists of as you source materials, subcontractors that you think are best and most appropriate for this project is something you get to you get. I'm going to say get to instead of can, but get to share with the client, which amps that trust level, which means that when you go into construction, they've seen everything that they saw all that stuff, and then they literally they are so happy to walk away because they have some power. They got to have power in the process. You didn't relegate them or delegate them or shove them off to the sidelines. You involved them in that process and got rid of the whole black box thing. And
why do you think more remodel and get some comments going, people? But it's okay if they don't. It's okay. But we got a decent number of people watching. Let's get some comments going or questions. Why do you think more remodelers don't just embrace design build and really work to have it intertwined in their business?
Ooh, man, I don't know the answer to that. I think it intimidates some folks. I think sometimes people feel like they don't know if they're worth it. If their design is up to snuff, or more often than not, I hear folks say that they don't think they can charge. They don't feel confident that they could charge for design and get paid for it. Or that, well, their competitors offer free design or design credited to the project. And so if they charge for design, they're not going to get that work. And I think I get it. I get the mentality, but I think like things like loss leader, which I hate really deeply, but the underlying premise is wrong. The underlying premise is that every lead is a job that you should have or could have gotten. I mean, we do 25 to 28 projects a year. That's our capacity.
Yeah.
Right. I don't need 100 leads. I don't need 100 jobs in a year because I can't. In order to process them, we'd have to be a very different kind of company. I need 25 good clients who will respect us, engage with us. We design about 30 to 40 things a year, and we build about 25. So if I don't get every job, that's fine, right? What I want are the clients who value me, who are interested in the experience and the process, who value our creativity, so then we can design cool stuff. And there's that wolf thing behind you.
Yeah.
Right. So if you feed the side that is building and designing creative and cool stuff, then you get clients who come to you because you did creative and cool stuff, which then gets you more creative and cool stuff. And now you're no longer the remodeler who has to do those stupid, junky, white kitchen, boring, right? I mean, if that's your jam and you love that stuff and you want to do the same job over and over, then go for it. But most remodelers, I feel like, are usually looking for something that gets
if that's your strategy. And I think that what you just shared was interesting. Like, that's your strategy. You have a strategy. You have projects that fire your team up, that fire you up, that let you guys, they're just ideal because they allow your creativity to go. There's a lot of projects that just are not ideal. You're looking for that. And by having the design build integrated, but before that, to my question of why are more people not, your answer is what I believe as well, which you use words like they're intimidated by it. They have a fear that they can't deliver value with it. They worry that because their competitors aren't doing it, that they can't offer it. Well, maybe because your competitors aren't doing it, it's going to differentiate you. And if you differentiate yourself, you can build more know, like, and trust. And if you want to charge more, you need to be different than everybody else. But what you nailed on it is, it's so much of it is confidence and not being clear with how to do it, or you tried it once and it didn't go well. But you know that chasing after all kinds of projects that don't lead to anything, the feeling of wasting your time. Okay, so we'll keep after. Oh, we got some things. We got some things flowing now. Somebody just said you tell them, Kyle. But not all remodelers make good designers.
Yeah, I agree.
Don't know how the mechanics of how to hand it off. What's your thoughts on that statement?
Well, I think that a lot of remodelers are terrible designers, and I think that they know it, and that's fine. Hire. There's a lot of great designers out there. If you want to be a design build firm, go out and find an architect or designer who you like working with, and either bring them in-house Or the other version of design build, which is that you have a solid partner that you
you have a trade partner just like you would otherwise.
Yeah, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And you can have great designers who aren't good drafters, and you can subcontract the drafting, and I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. Yeah, they're all good ways to get there.
Yeah. Edit said there's still many contractors who offer and have it on their website as free design or free estimate, and double frowny face, and Edit. Yes, they do, but the more clarity you bring to and more spread, I've been talking about this more and more lately. The more spread, you got to spread this out, what a free estimate is and what a detailed design and project development is. You got to make them feel the pain or the difference between those two things. And when you start to think about it, a free estimate is going to be full of allowances. And if I'm talking to a prospect and I just simply say, a free estimate it doesn't have any details sorted out, the design isn't finalized. How can anybody, put an estimate together that has any meat to it if we don't know, a lot of these decisions? Or Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, if our bid or if the bid you're looking at is full of allowances, and as you go through the process, you're making decisions sometimes after we've already started the work, do you think my experience has been that those allowances are going to be lower than what they're listed at or higher? And most people will laugh about, higher. Yeah, no, we've been there. We thought. So you got to spread. It's okay that people offer free estimates because you offer that too. That's the big thing. You offer that too. Go ahead, please.
They're free wags, right?
Yeah.
Really, it's a free wag. You never know. You guys all know what the wild ass guess, right?
Yes.
That's all that. That's what's. We had T-shirts. We used to have T-shirts, Kyle. On the back, it said "Free estimates, 1995."
That hammers on a point.
Because it's not free. I'm going to bill you for it at some point. I'm going to tuck it into something. It'll be buried in my gross margin markup. I think though, Kyle, you hit on something though that's larger for the industry, which is that the industry undercuts itself. It beats itself up, right? When we do things like free estimates and we believe that that's something that we need to do or that we need to put in all this extra time that's not being compensated because our competitors do it, it's like we are intentionally chopping each other down as an industry so that we can all make less. It's weird. I mean, if you think about it, it's really kind of bizarre, isn't it?
Yeah, you gotta have a big picture head to understand that. It doesn't feel like that in the kind of in your micro world, but that is what's happening a lot.
If remodelers as a large group said, we're all professionals, and as the blanket majority, we're going to say no. When you need to schedule an appointment and you need to pay for our time because we're professionals, and that's how it's going to be from now on. That would be huge because the consumers are taught not to trust us as well. I mean, every news story that's out there says get 3 estimates because somebody's lying to you.
Yeah, and that's what we're up against, and a lot of people have been burned. But again, the concept of free estimates it's not a bad thing. Every one of my clients offers a free estimate, but it's just like you said, a wag or just it's going to be a big range. Now, people, when you explain to people why you do the design build approach, or even if you're just doing detailed project development, when you explain to them the value to them, you have more of my attention. When you write me a check for 3% of the low end of the budget range I just gave you, if that might be, there's a lot of approaches to it, you have a lot more of my attention. I'm able to invest more time and energy into your project. This project's going to be so well thought out and detailed that it is going to keep us on budget and going to keep us on schedule. We're tearing up your kitchen. It's going to be a major inconvenience, and we do not want this project to drag on for 4 or 5 weeks. But when there's allowances, and when we finally make a decision on that flooring, and then we go to order it and there's a 3-week delay and now you're stuck out of your kitchen, we want to avoid that. We want to give you a great remodeling experience. So just even selling them on the value and you understanding that it's a win-win-win all around. It's not just for us, it's also for them. Confidence, you can do it. The fact that, Michael, you're in the industry very deep and see a lot of people. I've been doing this for 12 years now, and it is very clear that the top 10, 15, 20, even 25% of our industry have cracked the code, have built the confidence to realize I need to charge for design and or project development because it leads to a better experience all around.
Yeah, that's it, man. It really does. And you were talking about lead times and stuff like that. I saw someone posted a video. They were in construction and they were meeting with their clients and they were making design decisions about
I saw that.
cabinets and tile. And I was like, it was painful to watch because I just thought that project is being run so inefficiently and there's so much money that's being lost. That poor remodeler could be making double, right? And
and more so the experience to the client and remodeling is already so hard. And when we're making decisions on the run, on the go, that could be avoided through just tenacity of getting decisions made or figuring out how to charge for project development so you have the time and ability to do it. So we didn't get, we're not done yet, but we didn't get a lot of questions so far, which I know you were kind of thinking, oh, we're just going to get all these questions, but we just covered like 4 or 5 or 6 different angles to this that I'm confident has either springboarded some people from. Springboard is the word of the day. I've used that 3 times already today for some reason. I never use the word springboard, but who that has just given people maybe a little bit of confidence or a little bit of clarity, or they might already be doing it and now they're just convinced of it more. But I wanted to pause. We'll see if we have more comments. But I wanted you to just talk about the project that is kind of around you. You've been doing a major remodel on your home, and you asked me a question like point blank. You're like, "Hey, what do you think of the exterior of the home?" And I kind of gave you an answer before we started. But the bigger thing that I've loved is you have been just teaching and educating. Guys, I'm super geeked about this cladding or whatever detailed thing, but you were geeked out about it. And more remodelers need to show off their projects and just teach and educate. The reason we're using this in between the original layer and this outer layer is so that blah, blah, blah. And you're just teaching. And that builds know, like, and trust and expertise. When prospects see that, they're like, oh, this guy knows what he's doing. Or maybe they're just intrigued by understanding that. Tell us about the project or how you've been going about even using it as a little bit of a marketing tool. That maybe is what I'm more intrigued by.
For sure, it's a marketing tool. And it's so this is the OA Resilient House. It's the subject of the Building Resilience show, which is going to be published on protradecraft.com. Small plug for ProTradeCraft.
Okay,
they have cool details. But I am geeking out about it. It is representative of a lot of our best practices. Manufacturers will send us new product sometimes before it's even on the market for us to play with and test out and give them feedback. We have a bunch of first evers, like the Marvin Sky Cove. That's the very first one they ever made. And we got to install it and film it and talk about it and give feedback. And to I think part of your point there, Kyle, we get feedback routinely from clients who say, like our Facebook, our Instagram posts, they really love reading our posts because they, as clients, are learning stuff about buildings that they never thought they would really have an interest in. And then they kind of are hoping that when we do their job, that they're going to get to be.
Oh, are you going to do that
on our house? And then they show all their friends, like, they were on our site, and that's actually our kitchen, and they were going through this detail. And it's so much easier than trying to sell, to just share and be knowledgeable and share the richness of that.
Yep.
It's authentic.
Yeah, just teach and educate. And I've noticed it for myself, and when I'm going through purchases or whatnot, like a salesman will say, well, this product, and if it was just me talking and I'm now relaying it to my wife, I'll say, well, this product, what's cool about it, I'll just recite it. But the more you teach about your windows, let's say you've got a buddy who doesn't know much. Yeah, the Marvin windows. You've got somebody that's coming on, let's say it's a client, and you've taught him all about this and why it's cool and why we use it on their home. When he's walking a buddy around the house, he's going to stop and say, now, what's really cool about this is the insulation fact. Like, there's so much value in that, especially in your case where you're catering towards a higher end type client. We've got to teach. The exclamation mark on it is remodelers, everybody listening, you've got to teach more. You've got such great expertise and knowledge, and people are interested in that.
They are
excited about it. Talk to them about the products. Don't just take it for granted that it's just another deck board. It's just another siding. It's just another faucet. Teach them.
Yeah. Teach them the difference between a composite and a PVC deck, the different types of wood species. Show them the end of the wood and what those cuts are and what they mean, and how when you frame, you turn crowned wood flip-flops so that you don't have a wall that ends up bowing one direction. And they're going to be like, holy smokes, you know so much. And that's the referral you get at the barbecue when they're with their friends and like, my remodeler is awesome. I mean, the stuff that he knows,
attention to detail, the knowledge.
Yeah.
You know, he charges more, but I'm telling you, that also educating during the sales process, that can be the difference between somebody saying, you know what, we've got to go with these guys. I just feel so much more comfortable with them, etc. Now, Bailey wrote, now I want to see the exterior of the house. So if people want to get in touch with you, Michael, or talk shop or see what we just described. So I guess you're just going to give a tour of it, but also how do they reach out to you?
They reach out to me. Where's the outside of the house? It's really sandy and dirty out here. Here.
Oh, I'm sorry. Are you one of those builders, remodelers who can't touch dirt? Is that why you're saying that?
No, I mean, it like literally I'm in my socks and it's all sandy out here.
That is cool.
Anybody can always email me, michael@oadesignbuild.com. Instagram is @oabuilds. You can find me there. Message me. Rust wall. And
is that bathroom that you showed off? Is that near you, or is that upstairs, or where's that?
Yeah, upstairs. Sorry, but I can show you the cool orange door. This is carved MDF.
Ooh.
I mean, that's sexy, isn't that?
I mean, I've never described a door as sexy, but if I was to describe a door as sexy, it would be that one.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's neat.
I'm on Facebook. People, Michael Anchel, easy enough. And I'm always happy to share stuff. So if anybody ever wants like your estimate or your contract or how do you set up your drawings, shoot an email and I'm happy to fire that stuff up. Everything that I know was given to me by people that were older than me. And when I got into this, and they taught me about the value of systems, and I feel like it's our responsibility to pay it forward.
Awesome. And I appreciate your heart behind that and just your willingness to do that. And I think you're one of the many reasons why even the remodelers community just continues to help people. And that's what we're trying to foster there, and appreciate your help with that. So if you were to put a final bow on this talk, what was the point of this topic, and what would be what's the key takeaway you want to leave with people?
That design build is more approachable than you might think. That when you fully design, specify, and work through the entirety of a project, it allows you to execute that project with incredible efficiency and accuracy in budget, which means no painful conversations about owing more at the end of the project, which makes fixed sum contracts a much more palatable thing.
It's hard work, isn't it? And
it is hard work, and you should get paid for it.
Yeah. Awesome. This was Grant. Grant said, very cool. That was a nice bow. We saw the Sky Cove at IBS and loved it. We're excited to use it. So you're telling me that was the first Sky Cove install? Very cool.
Yeah.
Does he have any forms in the vault? Have you submitted a single item for the Remodeler's Vault, this beautiful free resource? Is it in there? I think it is.
I think I messaged them to you.
Oh, yes, you did. I'm sorry for being so forceful there. But now that I think about it, I'm like, oh, no, he's contributed. Yes, Rhonda, he has not contributed as many. You're still number one as far as most contributions, but Michael has definitely contributed. We appreciate that. Cool. Well, have a wonderful weekend, sir.
Yeah, you too, Kyle. Thank you, by the way. Kudos to you for doing this and pulling the community together. I think it's now more than ever, it's so great to have someone like you who provides this forum and invites people to engage and talk, and the community that's being built here, especially during the COVID times, it's awesome. So kudos to you, man. Nice work.
Awesome. We got to sneak one more in. Thank you, by the way. And do you sign contracts with trade partners? What happens if they go over their estimate?
It's like a whole thing. Do I sign contracts with trade partners? Do I have them sign our contracts, or do I sign their proposals is the question. And the insurance companies are very clear that they want the subs to sign our contracts. And we're really awful about doing that, mostly because we've had the same subs for like 20 years and we trust them. Newer ones, though, we do that. And if they go over their estimate, it just doesn't. For us, it so rarely happens that they do that. And if they do, there's a reason. And because we've been clear about numbers and our clients have seen all of our trade contracts proposals, if they have to run a couple extra, you know, they have to put a new fresh air return in, or they got to duct something additional, it's obviously not part of the original scope. So it's easy to bring to the client and say, this wasn't part of the original scope, we have to do it. And I don't mark it up, honestly. I just pass it along. Unless it took some significant more managed to execute, and then I will charge the hour or hour and a half or 3 hours that it took to manage the execution of that additional component.
Yeah, and I think one other thing I would add to that is, you know, it can happen often if we're not getting really into the details before we start the project. It's not unusual if you have an electrician and you say, hey, this is kind of some details, this, and they throw kind of a rough number at you, there's a good chance that they're going to get into it and go, forgot this, forgot that. And who's at fault then? You know, you agreed to it, they agreed to it, and it gets murky. But Michael, what you just described is, you know, we've thought through it well enough and we've gotten detailed enough that doesn't happen as often as when we're just shooting from the hip and we're starting without all the details. So I think that's another example, Grant, of the more effort and tenacity we put into making sure everything's figured out and selected before we start will negate that more often.
Yeah. So, receptacles to code is bad language. Install 4 GFCI arc fault receptacles in bedroom 2 is good language, right?
I mean, if there's has there ever been a stronger ending to a Remodeler show? Talking about 4, what was it? GFI? What was it?
4 arc fault protected GFCI receptacles.
And goodbye. Catch you later. See ya. Thanks.